if I had time. I sit in the class and I go to the class all.
That's right.
All right. Take care of yourself. We'll talk tomorrow, man.
All right, sounds good. All right, so as we talked about here, this is the shift class, and you know, number one thing here with the shift, and since everybody is in here is fairly new, it's going to be about mindset, right? That's one of the first things that he talks about here in the book is mindset, and the fact that we got to get the mindset right. You know, we get the inspiration, then we go to do the perspiration, I think is what the quote is that he uses. And so when we're trying to sell real estate, we always got to sell the 4 inches in between our ears. That's the first thing that we need to do. And because right now, again, on the news, we're hearing all the negative things, right? We're going into a recession, interest rates are high, you know, is it a good time to sell? Is it not? Appreciation this next year is going to be between 1% and 4%. Again, we have a recession that we're moving into, you know, so all those things are the negative things that people are hearing, and we're hearing the same thing. And so then we've got to be able to work with those objections, if you want to call it that. So as an example, why would I sell right now when I have a 3% interest rate and interest rates are at 6.25%? You need to be able to handle that objection. You know, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I understand that, but what's most important to you? Is it about getting into that home that you want, or is it about the price of the home? And we can have that conversation. Are you going to live in that? Are you going to live in that interest rate, or are you going to live in the monthly payment? Well, let's give you the monthly payment. All right, well, you have a lot of equity in your home, so you can buy down or put more money down to offset that interest rate. You know, the other thing is too, is that when interest rates come back down, you're going to be able to refinance. You know, so you may have to have this payment for a year or two. So if it's $100 more a month, is that really going to be something that's going to stop you from buying your dream home? You know, those are the questions that we need to be able to ask. And so again, that's what the shift book brings to us, is those ideas and to keep us in that right frame of mind. So I think last week we talked about again the mindset, and then we did again get real, get right, which is a mindset in action. And now today, which is probably one of my favorite ones, is remargining your business. And so that actually starts on page. Oops. Page 29 it starts on. And just as a review, one of the things too that comes with the first part there, and get real, get right, mindset and action, is that the number one thing that you need to do is going to be your lead generation and your lead follow-up. That is something that you can't give away, you can't do. And on top of it, you're going to convert probably better than anybody else's anyway. And on top of these people are reaching out to you to work with you, so they need to hear back from you. So as we're moving into the shift, how do I want to say this? It's time to get your lunch pail, it's time to get your hard hat, and it's time to go to work. Right now, it's not a white collar job per se, it's a blue collar job. We need to get in there, we need to be able to basically dig and to hustle and to grind. And those are some things we're going to need to do for like the next probably 12 to 18 months. Now, here's the thing I want you to hear from me when I say that is I'm not, the sky's not falling. If you go look today, people have went under contract on homes. Homes have sold. The question is, are they the homes that you're selling or somebody else selling them? And so that's where you need to get out there, and your sphere in particular, the people that know, like, and love you, they're there, they're ready to help you, they're ready to buy and sell, but they got to know that you're a real estate agent. And so you're going to hear us talking about this 201, right? 201 people in your database, because Keller Williams has done the math and it has done the research. And if you have 201 people in your database and you're doing the 4 laws of lead generation, which is build a database, it's to feed the database, put more people in it, communicate with the database, and then service the leads that come your way. Those are the 4 laws. All right, so you need to put everybody that you know, put them in your database. You need to put them on a smart plan. You need to talk to them about every 90 days. And you actually pick up the phone and have a conversation with them. And if you've got 201 people in your database and you do those things, you should make about $120,000 in gross commission income. but you got to do it. As it's the bulldog that says, success is simple, it's not easy. And so that's the thing that people know what they need to do, but you just need to go and do it. So that's the first thing. And that's one of the things they ended up with on chapter 1 of getting the mindset right, is that you've got to do that lead generation. And so that's the easy way to do it. If you want to do it the other way, you can go talk to 50 people every day and go ask them if they need a house to buy or sell. It's a 50-to-1 conversion rate for people you don't know. It's about a 12-to-1 conversion rate for people that you do know. So if we just use some simple math, if you've got about 200 people in your database, your conversion rate is going to be between 6 and 10%. We'll go on the low side. If it's at 6%, you're going to get 12 deals then for that year. If you want 24 deals, then you need to have 400 people in your database. It's never going to hurt you to have more people in your database than what you need. And here's the thing, if you're not calling your sphere, I know she'll call them, won't you? And right? And here's the deal I'll make with you all also, is that if you don't want to work, as a matter of fact, Ian's on here now, and he'll tell you the same thing. If you don't want to call your database, I'll give you $50 right now for all the names in your phone and anybody that you can give me. And I'll also give you a 25% referral fee on any of the leads that I get from you that I convert. Simple enough, right? You know, so if you don't want to work it, go talk to somebody. Go talk to an Ian, because he'll work them. He'll find somebody in there and he'll pay you a referral fee, you know, on it as well. You better close the door. Right, Ian?
Yes, sir.
Again, this business is about the number of people that you can talk to. I mean, my mentor said it for many years, is that, you know, show me your checkbook and show me your phone and I'll tell you what's important to you. And so the more people you talk to, the more business you're going to do. It's really that simple. And so that's the thing you have to have. You got to have real estate conversations with people. All right. So as everybody that's here, seeing you for the first time, except for her back there, she's been here a little while. And Ian, of course. And by the way, like, Ian is a great reference point. You know, go and talk to this guy. You know, have a conversation with him. I mean, you know, 4 or 5 years ago, he was doing, when I first met him, he was doing about $2 million a year in sales. And what are you doing this year? 15, 17 million?
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Yeah. And he's done it the right way. He started out calling FSBOs and expires. He no longer calls FSBOs and expires. He doesn't have to. He works his sphere. He does farming at this point. Farming can be expensive if you don't do it the right way. But he has built his business up so that you don't have to do these things. That's the other thing my mentor would say too. If you don't like doing something, do it until you don't have to do it anymore. And that's what Ian did. He did until he didn't have to do it anymore. But as we're going into this market, FSBOs, for sale by owners, and expireds are going to be a great lead source for listings, because right now listings are really tight. And that's one of the things that we always want to focus on, is listings. So, all right, so tactic 2 here is remargin your business and basically expense management. As we're going into the shift and we're going into this recession, even personally, we need to do this, right? So we not only need to do it for our business, we need to do it personally. So one of the first things, and I'm going to kind of get out of the book here for a second, is if you've got credit cards, if you've got debit cards, and you've got stuff that's automatically taken out at this point, go through and decide, do I really need this? And here's the second thing too. If you're looking to build wealth and you want to do some investments, this is a great place to find some place to save money. And if you can save that money, go put that in another account and keep that for your investment account as well. It's one of the things that they talk about on Win, Make, Give. They talk about in the Millionaire Real Estate Investment book, is to do these types of things. So go through your credit card statement or your debit card statement, have a yellow, have a red, and have a green highlighter with you. Anything that's on there is like, hey, I don't need this. We mark it with red, right? And we make sure that if it's automated or whatever it is, we stop it. All right. If it's something that, you know what, I'm not quite for sure if I need this or not, we put that in yellow. All right. Like our house payment, our car payment, insurance payments, things along those lines, they got to get paid, right? So we put those in green. And now you can go back and add those up and look at them. One of the things you may look at is, you know what, do I need to go to Starbucks every day and spend, $6 or $8 on a cup of coffee? Could I start buying, some coffee from the store and just make my own? That might be a way that you save money. You may find out, like I did, is that I have a McAfee subscription, for for saving me from the web when I've got an Apple computer. So I didn't need it, but it was something that I used and was automatically renewed every year. And so it was $70 that was going out. This is something you should do every month because we never know when that's going to occur. If you really want to find out what you have on auto pay, is go change your card number. I'm not saying to cancel your card number, but call up your card company and say, hey, I'd like to get a new number. Because then anything that was on that old card, it's also going to pop up. And you're going to get a phone call or you're going to get an email from them going, hey, that $25 a month that we were charging you, it's not going through. Your card's being declined. Well, thank you for that. I don't really need that, so goodbye. So you may have a gym membership that you've been paying for 2 years that you've never used because it's only $25 a month, right? And so we say to ourselves, yeah, you know what, I don't really need to cancel that. But that's $300 a year. That's $600 in 2 years that I could have saved and I could use for something else. So that's one of the things that they're talking about here is even with our business is make sure that we're watching our expenses. Because, you're going to get a paycheck here and you're going to get a $7,000, after commissions are paid out, stuff like that, you might get a $5,000 paycheck. You got $5,000, right? I can go buy stuff. Well, the other part of that is you want to make sure that you're getting a return on investment. So if you're going to go buy something, you need to track it and make sure that you're getting 4 times the return. So if you bought something for $1, you should make $4. So again, if you bought something for $100, you should get $400 back at a minimum. And so that's some of the things you should do right now even is to make sure that you're getting a return on those investments. And that's another way to determine, should this be in red? Should this be in yellow? Should this be in green? What am I using it for? How can I get an investment or get a return out of this? So that's some things that you want to look at. Pretty easy to do up front. Win, Make, Give. If you haven't signed up for that website, I would go to that website. They're doing a wealth building class right now. It's their 2.0. As a matter of fact, they did one about 2 years ago. And it's a great place. They've got some forums and things like that on there. And again, it's a podcast and there's a community out there that you can on Facebook and you can jump in there and have discussions with other people, but they really advocate this stuff as well. WinMakeGive.com. Ben Kinney does it. And he's like a huge agent within the Keller ecosystem. Let's see here. On page 29, he says, change isn't easy and significant change is downright difficult, yet long-term success requires it. My experience has taught me that the people most responsive to change are the ones most likely to survive and to thrive. So one of the things he's talking about here, and since, Ian's probably heard me say it, but the last year and a half, up until about April of last year of 2022, if you went fishing, and I'm using fishing as the analogy for real estate, you could throw a hook into the water and you'd catch a fish. You really didn't have to do a whole lot, right? Just throw the hook out there. Eventually a fish would run into it or grab it just because it thought it was hungry, right? The market's now shifted. And so we have to use more skill. We got to put some bait on that hook now. And so sometimes it might be live bait. Sometimes you might need to use a spinner bait. Sometimes you might need to use a bobber. We may put a crankbait on there. We may need a deep diving one. We may need to do some jigging. We may need to do some different things. And so right now, selling real estate is a lot like fishing. You got to figure out, especially on the list side, what people need, what they want. How can I attract people towards me? It's no longer just, hey, I'm a real estate agent, and people will run to you and go, here, list my house, or I need to buy one. And we went out there and we were putting in 20 offers to get one person under contract. That's ended. So we have to market ourselves again. And that's what he's talking about with the mindset shift. If you're sitting here and you're waiting for business to come to you, it will not. We'll be very direct about that. It will not show up. You have to do something in order for people to come to you. You have to attract that business. Now you can do go on command and do Facebook ads. You can do social media ads, and that business can come that way. But you have to do something in order for it to come to you. You need to call your sphere, have a conversation with them. Hey, it's Brian, just checking in with you. I want to see how you're doing. How's the new year going? Okay, great. Everybody's good in the household? Yeah, okay, awesome. Is there anything that you need from me? Do you need a vendor or anything like that as the spring is coming here? Do you need a landscaper? Do you need to get your windows washed? I've got a great list of people. Is there anybody that you need? No. By the way, we're coming into the tax season here. Would you like a equity analysis on your home so that you could possibly give that to your accountant so that you use that for your net assets? Yeah, that'd be great. And so now you're doing those types of things. You're coming from contribution, you're giving them that information, and they may get that and go, holy smokes, I didn't know my house was worth this much. And now maybe they may want to do something with that. By the way, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I did your equity analysis. It looks like you've got, $150,000 in equity. Are you interested in maybe buying a second home? How about an investment home? All those things still apply. You don't have to sell a person one house. You can sell them more than one. And so that's where that mindset comes from. And as long as you can shift that mindset before other people do, you're going to do really well. With your thinking right and your role clear, you must immediately identify the other effective business changes your current circumstances require. The number one detriment of thriving is lead generation, but the number one detriment of surviving is expense management. When markets shift, the first change a business must make is re-expense itself. So there's a lot of people that I know right now who are going out there and they're buying what he's talking about here. They're buying more leads. That's not the right thing to do. You got to convert the ones you have. Because by buying more leads, you're just putting yourself deeper in the hole. We just had a conference down in Charlotte, and we had the president of Keller Williams was there, and he said that this is Keller Williams agents now, but they talked to the people who were buying Zillow leads. They were spending $14,000 in leads to make $10,000. And they didn't realize it. So they were doing business, but they were going broke while they were doing it. So that's the thing you have to remember. You have to track your numbers. You have to know where you're at. So that's why they ask you to do that. And again, remargin your business. Know where your numbers are at, what you need to do, where you need to go. He says here, I cannot overemphasize the importance of always working from a position of profitability. And here's the thing that happens is over the last 2.5 years, as a real estate industry, we got lazy because again, it was easy. And so people stopped tracking their numbers and people stopped looking at their budgets because prices had gone up. We were doing more units. So we were making money hand over fist, right? You can talk to a lot of these agents and they'll tell you they made more money in the last 2 years than they ever have. But the problem was then is that we get lazy, right? Well, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore, so I'll pay somebody else to do that. I don't really like doing this, so I'll pay them to do that. You know what? I don't really want to do lead generation, so I'll just buy some leads. I'll have this company come in and do them. I'll get an ISA, or I'll get a cyberbacker, as they might be called. They spent money thinking that they were going to make more money, but then it was masked by the fact that the market had just went up. It wasn't anything that they were doing. And so now that the market is normalizing again, now the fact of the matter is their income is coming down and they still have all these expenses. There were people out there, this is before even this last shift, that would be making big agents that I knew that were out there, that people that I looked up to, that were doing 130, 140 sales a year, and they were making like $30,000. They were taking home $30,000. I don't want to do all that work and not take home the money. So that's what I don't want for you either. So that's why, again, know your numbers, remargin that business, go home, remargin your own stuff, your personal stuff, because again, it ain't going to hurt you. Because that's the money we got to live off of, right? So have that conversation, sit down with your significant other and go through that. And again, you can use it later on for other things. Here he says, interestingly, one might think that the goal of profit would provide the motivation necessary to do this, but research and personal experience have proven otherwise. Fear of financial loss is a more powerful motivator than the opportunity for financial gain. It just seems that the push we get from our fears is stronger than the pull forwards the profits we desire. This goes into something that you'll learn in Bold when you take that class, is that people will either move towards pleasure or they'll move away from pain. And what our experience is that more people will move away from pain than they will moving towards pleasure. And so that's what he's talking about there, is the pain of going broke is greater than actually the thought of making money. So that's why people will do what they do, right? And so that's that financial thermostat that we may have, that he calls it. So that's something you may want to look at. Well, how do I view things? Do I move towards pain? Or I'm sorry, do I move towards pleasure? Do I move away from pain? And then you can kind of set up the, your mindset kind of going forward, because we're all different. I tend to move away from pain. That's what I do. Ian over here, he tends to move more towards pleasure, just from knowing him as long, because he's got things that he wants and he needs and he wants to do, and he does his business to go out and get those things. So, and it's okay, but you just have to understand who you are and what you're doing. All right. So here he says that in up markets, we tend to acquire habits and patterns of doing things that don't stop us in good times, but grind us to a halt in bad. In other words, we do so much right that the market covers up the wrong. The first causes us to succeed and may be so powerful that it powers us right past the second. Good times seem to reward all that we do, and profit seems to give permission to be permissive. Permission to avoid things you don't enjoy. Permission to do things you've always wanted to do. Permission to do things in the spur of the moment. All this leads to a lack of scrutiny, research, and accountability. Profit can act like a financial pillow and become a mental cushion, or like a financial sofa inviting you to take a mental nap. So the example I can use with that again here is for myself, is I've got Disney Plus, I've got Prime Video, I've got Netflix, I've got YouTube TV, I think I've got Sling, right? Now, I got rid of cable because my cable bill was running somewhere in the neighborhood of like $120 to $130. And it was cheaper originally just to go to Sling, right? Because it was $30-some a month, and you got a lot of these other things that went along with it. But as all these companies have gone out and did their thing, you start adding up everything that's going on. Disney's $15 or $20 a month. I think Netflix is up to like $15 or $20 a month. So there's 40, right? You got the Amazon Prime thing that you're paying for yearly. But then, you've got, YouTube TV, which is like $50 or $60. So now I'm at 100. And then if I got something else in there, I'm at $120 again. Times have been good, right? Let's just get it. And maybe on YouTube TV, I've added like the sports package, and so that's an additional $10. Or I've gotten Red Zone or whatever it might be. I might have added something because times are good. I'm making money. Who cares, right? And so now what he's talking about is when times get tough, now all of a sudden you're like, man, I don't have money to go out to eat. I'm a little short over here. Well, it's because things were good and we let it go. Well, this is where we need to go back. And the business is the same thing. The same thing happens in our businesses, is that we do that same part of it. Like I said, I don't want to lead generate. I'm going to hire the cyberbacker over here and pay them, or this ISA, and I'm going to pay them $30,000 a year to do it. And if they get me one or two, I'll be good with it. And they're not holding that accountable to what they're going on. It's okay to do it as long as you're getting return on investment. So again, that's one of the things you need to look at. We just get complacent, is what it comes down to. We just need to be aware again. That's what he's trying to get you to think about here, is just to become aware. So think of spending money in your business as investing in your business. When you invest, you expect to get your money back plus a return, and the same applies in your business. You're investing in your business every time you spend money. Therefore, sound business implores you to follow the basic philosophy. Every dollar spent should return its original amount plus a reasonable profit. Think of this as the cost plus principle of converting your expenses into business investments. Let's see here. Many agents tend to think they are as good as their last best year instead of the average over their careers, and they set up their expectations and expenses accordingly. They tend to think the trend of their last couple of good years will continue, and they underestimate the market's contribution to their success. Here is the dilemma. Do you spend based on your average, your last year, your best year, or your goals? And then he says here, the answer is none of the above. No matter the market, you always follow the philosophy of lead with revenue. This means either always working from a position of profitability or of just getting started, working from a position of having enough revenue already on the books so you know exactly when profitability will start. In a shifted market, you drop your expenses until your inflow once again exceeds your outflow at an acceptable level. And then you play red light, green light. You now grow your budget incrementally by holding each new expense accountable for contributing profit in line with your acceptable profit margin as you aim towards your goal. You're spending by leading with revenue, and you're growing by the cost plus business investment approach. It's the true win-win financial formula that works for any business at any time and in any market condition. So if you don't have the money, don't spend it. That's what he's saying with red light, green light. As new agents or younger agents or newer in the business, one of the things that you have is that you've got time. Use that time to your advantage. You've got your head, you've got your hands, you've got your feet, anything that you have that doesn't cost you anything. So use that. Those are the resources that you have right now. Of course, I know we all probably got a credit card in our pocket, right? And we can whip that thing out and we can put something on it. He's saying avoid that. Pay cash for things as you're moving forward. If you want to buy some leads, I'm not telling you not to buy them, but if you want to buy them, then make sure you got the cash to do it, and then track it. Make sure you're getting a return on investment. If you're buying $600 worth of leads a month, we probably need to be converting at least one or two of them per month. Then, if we're not converting them, then get rid of it. Or if the leads, I hate to say this because I'm not a big believer in this, the leads are no good. The leads are always good. It's just that we're not doing a good job of doing the original phone call and the follow-up. So make sure that you're doing that. And remember, that's money that you're throwing away. That's money that you could have spent on your family. That's money that you could have went on vacation with. That's money you could have paid another bill with. So take it seriously. Too many real estate agents are like, next lead, next lead, next lead. You've got plenty. You've got plenty. And like we just talked about, if you've got 200 to 400 people in your database, you've got more than enough. You just need to have a conversation with those people. You just need to talk to them. You need to have them on a smart plan. So use that stuff to your advantage. That's one of the things that, again, like these top producers such as Ian, they're getting lots of referrals. That's when business becomes fun. But they're talking to their people all the time. I know Ian does he does client events. He's got stuff going on in his neighborhood. He's sending out postcards. They're door knocking. They're doing coat drives, food drives. They're doing all sorts of things like that. That doesn't cost him a whole lot to go do a coat drive, right? He's got to do a flyer. He's got to get that out to them. He's on the Facebook page. And then he goes around and he collects the stuff, right? Drops off the bags and comes back later to pick them up. Those are things that you can do that don't cost anything and should get some type of return on investment. I'm not saying that you're going to get an automatic listing just because you went around and did a food drive, but now my face is in front of you, right? Oh, you're that person that did this. The next time you come around, you do something again, you're pretty nice. You're somebody that I'd like to hang out with or I want to be around. Then you might bump into him someplace and then you come around again, you're doing something. By the way, I've got a friend at work that's looking to sell, and I really appreciate everything you're doing here. Would you like their name and number? That's how it starts, doing those types of things. Or the neighbor's looking to sell. I don't know if you heard about that yet. That's how things start. And then it's like wildfire then, and it kind of takes off. But you got to be consistent. That's the other thing with this business is that the person who's consistent and persistent will always win over talent. There's a lot of non-talented people in the real estate business, but the fact of the matter is that they're talking to people every day and they're doing more business than the most talented people that I know. That's not you, Ian, by the way. On page 34, he says, when a shift hits initially, everyone gets hit equally. The market doesn't discriminate, so all boats float lower. What happens first is equal and without choice. What happens next is unequal and determined by choice. There is no expense that is untouchable. There is no cut too small. You must reduce expenses to match your income plus an acceptable profit margin. Be brutal. Cut, cut, cut. And then he goes on to say that you cut once, you cut twice, you go back and you look at this. Just like I said, every month you're coming in and you're looking at those expenses. Be fanatical about that. Some of the most successful agents I know, they know their numbers, like, front and back of their hand. They know exactly how much money they're spending and where it's going. The beautiful thing for individual agents right now is that you should be making about 70% of everything that's coming in. It's one of the most profitable businesses that you can have. There ain't no other, like the market center here, we make 1%. Of all the money coming in, we make 1%. The region is making 3%. All the agents across the whole Keller ecosystem are making about 25%. As an individual agent, you should be making anywhere between that 65 and 70%. So you can, it's a good business, but you have to go and talk to people. You have to be consistent in doing what you're going to do. Make sure you get out there and have that conversation. Then it says here on page 35, he says it's underneath the get your money smart again. I have this highlighted. First, you get smart, then your money gets smart. For every dollar spent, expect multiple returns from it. Just keep this principle at the heart of your business spending, and you can't go wrong. Until you get this, don't spend another dollar. It goes back to what we're talking about. You spend a dollar, what happens to it? Where does it go? Now, there are some things that are going to be, they're going to be out there. You got to buy gas, right? But if you're going out and you're doing showings with it, then it's a good thing, and you're being purposeful with the showings. You got to pay us. That's the other thing too. Being here and learning is where you get that money back at. Take advantage of what we've got going on. Use the productivity coach. Come and talk to us. That's what we're here for. We're here to help you. You're our clients. You're our business partners. We want you to succeed. It's about you and it's about your family. So you got a question, come and talk to us. But use that. It's there. There's lots of resources that are available through KW Connect and other places. What's James Shaw's thing in the morning? Ian.
Yo.
What's James Shaw thing in the morning called again? Shift.
Pivot, shift ahead.
Pivot, shift ahead. Facebook group.
8 o'clock.
There you go. If you haven't been on there, you should get on there. Free to everybody. Is there about 80,000 people on there or something like that?
There's a lot. Yeah, he's got like 120,000, I think.
He's up to 120,000 now? Wow.
Yeah, pretty sure. People they're making a hell of a lot more money than we are, and they're telling us what they're doing.
Exactly. So come in there and listen to those people. And the thing about it is, James started this group with this book here. This is what he's known for, is kind of teaching this class. And so what he'll do is he'll pick different things out of the book every day. And then as Ian was talking about there, it's basically a mastermind every morning. Now, he will do the inspirational thing. That's one of the things that James does every morning, is does the inspirational thing. And he'll say it every morning. Now it's time to go put the perspiration in. But if you can jump on that, what's it last? About 20 minutes? So from 8 to
8:20, it's over.
Is all it is 20 minutes, and it gets your day going, right? And then right after that, they do have a script practice that they do with, what the heck's his name?
Chris Hurley. Go to Scripts.
Chris Hurley. He's out of Raleigh here too. What's the name of that Facebook group?
ScriptsJedi.club. Well, the name of the Facebook group, National Scripts and Role Play is the name of the Facebook group.
National Scripts and Role Play. And so there again, you've got agents from across the country that are using it, because sometimes something's happening on the West Coast before it happens here. And so you'll get ahead of the game by listening to what some people are saying from other parts of the country before that objection happens here. As an example, the shift started more out to the west than it did here in the east. Plus, on top of it, here in the Raleigh area, we were really insulated. Even within the Carolinas in our ecosystem, when we were looking at the lore, L-O-R-E, the language of real estate, the region had already did a downturn, but here at our market center, as an example, we didn't see that until November. So we were a little bit later in coming in, but now we've seen it and it's happening. November, December, we'll see what January brings, but I know our contract's written for December. We're down over the last couple of years, so I would expect that January is going to be down as well. If you go online and you look at the number of houses that went under contract, and look at the number of houses that were listed, those numbers are lower than what they were in 2019. And 2019 was our last normal year. So that tells me that we're in this shift. And they're talking about a 30% reduction in the number of houses sold this year. Now, again, the sky is not falling. For the people that are prepared, like you talked about in here, you're going to do well. For the people that aren't prepared, they're not going to do so well. And again, you have to get through the survive part of this, and then you'll thrive. And so that's what we're looking to do here. And by going on these national script call, going to James Shaw, coming to these classes, jumping in on some of the webinars on our live streams on KW Connect, they're all there for you to survive and to thrive. And as a matter of fact, that's what our motto is here too, is where entrepreneurs thrive.
How do we get to the national scripts call?
Facebook page, and what's it called again?
Oh.
National Script. Chris Hurley's class on Facebook, what's that called again?
National Scripts and Role Play.
Oh, it's on Facebook.
That's on Facebook. But he also has a website, right, that you can go to.
Yeah, go to Scripts Jedi, JEDI.club, CLUB, and register for the Zoom link.
And if nothing else, go and listen to start with, but jump in and do it. When we learned how to ride a bike, did we fall down? All right, did we stop, or did we get back on the bike again? We got back on it. So that's the same thing here. Just pretend that you're a little kid. When we learned how to walk, or we watched our babies walk, or we watched our grandkids walk, whatever it is, did they fall down 100 times before they started walking?
Yes. Got some bumps and scrapes along the way.
That is us. We learn from failure. And it's what a better place to fail than to do it with a bunch of people on a script practice than it is to do it with your clients. So go there and fail. Jump in and be part of the conversation. Practice your scripts. I'm sorry, practice your real estate conversations. We're not supposed to call them scripts anymore. Practice your real estate conversations, because that's what they are.
Here it is. Okay.
You use those things to your advantage. They don't cost anything. They're free. Our classes are free. There's a lot of Keller Williams classes that are free, so take advantage of them. I'm watching some of the people from some of our competitors. They're flying out to California and they're paying $2,000 to go to a class. And I'm looking at the stuff that they're saying, and it's what we teach right here. And I'm like, so the class costs $2,000. The airplane ticket probably costs you $700. You're probably paying $200 some odd dollars a night to go out there for 3 nights or 4 nights. And you could have learned it right here. But you know what? It's the latest and greatest thing, and it looks cool. And so I can do my selfie from, you know, from Los Angeles or from Lake Tahoe or from wherever it is. And I'm learning real estate for having them to tell you the same dang thing that we're telling you. So, like it says here, get smart with your money. And then he goes on to say, just like I mentioned here, don't try to just spend your way out of a shift. Make your way out through results. To find a benchmark dollar result you should expect from every dollar you spend, and until you get that result, don't spend anymore. You know that you're spending, you know what you're spending your money on and what you're getting for it. You're putting your money where your priorities are. You're in control of your money instead of your money controlling you. Here's the thing that somebody told me once, or I saw, maybe it was Dave Ramsey, that said this, is that money's a lot like water. All right, if you take water and you pour it on a table, where does it go? Goes anywhere it wants to go, right? Money's the same way. Is that if you don't tell your money where to go, it just goes anywhere. So that's one of the reasons why you want to know where your expenses are, whether it's personal or in your business, is having that budget, sitting down, knowing how much money you're spending each month, and then staying within the budget then too. Coming back after the month is over with and going, okay, we were going to spend $400 on groceries. How much money did we spend? Oh, we spent $550. Well, why did we spend $550? Oh, we had people over for the holidays. And so it was our turn to cook. So we were outside. Okay, that's basically an exception, right? Now, if in 3 months you keep checking that and you're over on your grocery budget, that has become reality, because after 3 months, that's something that's no longer an exception. It's something that's going on. Now, what do we need to do? Do we need to raise our budget and take money from someplace else? Do we need to cut back on what we're buying? Again, am I buying prime rib all the time? Maybe I could eat some chicken, or eat some pork chops instead of eating a steak. I can offset some of that cost. But you won't know unless you're tracking it. And so it's just very true. And for the longest time, to be honest with you, my money was like the water on the table. It just spilled off and it just disappeared. And I'd be like, where'd it go? How many people have had that feeling? Yes. And so that's why we just need to have that conversation with ourselves. And so this is one of the reasons why this chapter to me is one of my favorite chapters, because of that. And I've done the Dave Ramsey thing. I've actually, instructed it and taught it. And so there's a lot of good things that he has in there for that. So and this is one of the things he teaches as well. So not only is it, and by the way, I think Dave and Gary are actually acquaintances. They know each other because they kind of believe in the same types of things here. So take it to heart. Again, go home and figure it out. I know budgets are boring, right? Now, here's the thing. If you're anything like me, I'm not going to sit down and do a budget. I'm not going to sit down with you for 45 minutes and go through it. That was my wife, right? She had a spreadsheet. And she had, all right, we have food. And then underneath it, she had all the subcolumns of how much we spent at every time we went to the grocery store. I don't need to see all that. I just need to know what the total is. I need to look at it and go, all right, we're in budget, we're out of budget. That's it. So you don't have to spend, like I said, 3, 4, 5 hours doing it. Just spend like 15 minutes to go through it, and you can do it that quick. The setup is going to take the longest. But again, Win, Make, Give, I believe they've got some stuff in there that you can go in and put stuff in and figure out where it's at. And again, they're doing their Wealth Building 2.0 right now. So it's a good time to jump in. I think they've done 2 podcasts for it so far. I want to say there's 10 or 12 podcasts that they have for it. And they're real simple. They're about a half hour long, but they give a lot of great advice. Win, Make, Give.
Win, Make?
Yeah, M-A-K-E. So the idea is that you make your money and then you give your money. It's the idea, you win, make, give.
The W-I-N.
W-I-N, M-A-K-E, give, G-I-V-E.
That's all wrong. Win, Make, Give.
The last thing he says here is the key to remargining and changing your budget is changing the way you think. If money matters, then managing that money matters. To be an effective money manager, you must be a budget bully. Challenge everything you make, nothing sacred. The goal is to guide your business and manage your money. As Owen B. Young, the former chairman of GE, said, by taking advantage of the maximum number of opportunities and making the minimum number of errors, when you leap from a position of profit, your world is full of possibilities. Isn't that the truth? Have we ever ran across a possible investment and we didn't have the money to do it? I really have liked to have done that, but I just don't have the money to do it. That's what he's talking about. because if we hadn't spent the $700 on a brand new TV, and we went out and bought the brand new clothes, and we went out and spent $8 a day on mocha bullshit, that we would have had that money, right? So that's why you need a budget bully. Gary looks at his money, I think now every day. Of course, he's a billionaire, so he's got a lot of money to look at. Again, I would recommend that you probably look at something like once a week, because that way it can be pretty quick. If you're doing it every week, when it gets to the end of the month, then you're not surprised by anything either. As you start making some money, get a financial person in your life. Get a professional. That's what they do, right? You're a professional real estate agent. You're not a professional in investments. Get involved in real estate investment, because that's what you know. You start making money, put money aside to do the investment. Here's the thing: real estate will make you rich, but it won't make you wealthy. Passive income makes you wealthy. Passive income is when you're making money and you don't have to do anything to make it. Because right now, if you go on vacation or you leave, what's going to happen with your business? So you're still an employee, even though we think that we're what's the word I'm looking for here that Kiyosaki always talks about. We think that we're self-employed, but we're really still just an employee. Until you get somebody else working for you and they're doing it, you're still an employee. So that's something to think of. We want to get to that point where somebody else is making the money for us, and I can go on vacation and I know my business is still gonna run. And on top of it, I think in Windmate, they talk about this, is that being wealthy is doing what you want, when you want, with who you want, for as long as you want. And Gary's talked about that too, that we can all go to the beach, right? Now, there's two things that are going to happen if you're wealthy compared to not wealthy: where you're going to stay at and how long you're going to stay there. The people who are rich and they need to have a job, they go for the weekend. The people that are wealthy, they go for the month. Which one do you want to be? Plus, on top of it, they're staying on the water. And that's really the simple question. Which one do you want to be? You want to be the one that visits the beach, or you want to be the one that stays at the beach? Ian stays at the beach.
I try to.
What's that?
I try to. I'm going down tomorrow.
Exactly. So that it's really a choice. And either one's okay. Either one's okay. But what do you want to do? I myself personally, I'm like him. I've got a place in the mountains. I like to go stay at the mountains. I don't like to go and visit the mountains. So do what you got to do. But we're here to help you. Any questions? Was this helpful? Yes. Did I do a good job? You guys wouldn't know if I did or didn't anyway, right? That's something to remember though. When you're going out and you're meeting clients, they don't know. The only person who knows is you. So don't think, I know we hear this like, oh, I'm going to say the wrong thing. They don't know if you said the right thing or the wrong thing. Well, I'm not going to be able to answer their question. If they ask you a question you don't know how to answer, you know what? That's a great question. Let me find out and I'll get back to you. They're okay with it. You don't have to know all the answers to the questions, but just go and talk to the people. And again, use your resources that you have and get under contract here as fast as you can. That's the other key to this thing here too. The longer that you take to do education and stuff, and we want you to do it, but at the same time, you need to be working the business. Would you agree with that? How long have you been here now?
Over a year.
Over a year?
About a year.
Yeah, you kind of did that thing in the beginning, didn't you? You kind of like, let me learn this. And,
Yeah.
and then eventually she's like, you know what? I'm just going to go do some business.
Learn a lot more than this.
And you learn a lot more in the process? Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. That's a great point. Thank you for sharing that. And she's turning into a rock star real estate agent. She's doing a great job. All the things that she was afraid of doing before, not that big of a deal, right? You do a good job. And so you just got to go out and do it. Okay? So again, if you got any questions, come see myself, come see Grant, come see Jackson. And again, we've got an ALC that you can talk to. You know, that's what they're here for too. They love to work with people, and even and like our other agents as well. I know Ian will always spend some time with you. You'll have a cup of coffee at the end. As a matter of fact, he'd rather have a beer. So if you want to go have a beer with somebody, he's a great guy to go have a beer with, and he'll share with you anything that he's got going on. And he's hungry usually a lot of times too. So if you buy him lunch, that's the other thing he'll do. He'll go to lunch with you. Right?
It's about that time.
It is about that time. The beer den. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I got for today. I don't know what's going on tomorrow. If you haven't had a chance to get with Becky, jump into like I think tomorrow's Thursday. Yeah, she's got a tech class tomorrow. Come in and do that. All right. Thank you. What are you going to do this afternoon, Ian?
I'm organizing stuff for the neighborhood, trying to do some sort of football pool for the playoff. And I'm getting taco trucks to come to the neighborhood.
You're going to do it for Super Bowl Sunday or just like for the big weekend?
Yes, everything, every week.
All right, I'll take some of those squares again.
All right.
All right, brother. You have a good day.
All right, later, man.